What's up everyone, with you. Today got this one right here, rewriting the Halo TV show illustrated.
Alright team, looks like we finally got the go-ahead to make the Halo TV show a reality. I've written a bunch of great ideas down.
Let's go.
For your feedback and thoughts. For starters, I think we should play it safe and maybe try
I think the Master Chief should take his helmet off in the first episode.
Yep.
I think that's a fantastic idea.
Yes, I agree. I agree
Bro, insane Mid Canyon vibes, I don't know why.
with that.
No.
What
We
the-
can't take off Master Chief's helmet in the first episode. People are gonna be pissed. These people have never seen Master Chief's face. It needs to be done with dignity and care.
True.
I think we should wait until the very end of season 1 to reveal his face.
But if Master
Yeah.
Chief don't take his helmet off in the first episode, then how does he have a sex scene?
What do you mean sex scene? This is Halo we're talking about.
But if Chief doesn't have a sex scene, then how are we gonna make Cortana watch it?
Sounds fantastic.
That's the whole plan.
You want Master Chief to strip naked and fuck some chick?
They don't call him Master Cheeks for nothing.
You know, nobody likes Sergeant Johnson. I
Society.
think we should take him out of the show entirely.
I like that
Biggest
idea.
mistake.
Let's give you a raise.
Alright, I'm out of here.
Like Avery Johnson, he gave like insane comedic value. It's insanity.
Up everybody. This
And he
is
was
the
more like the normal human dude. Yeah, he was like injected with shit and in some kind of Spartan project. I can't remember the law correctly, but he was like stronger than the average person, like a soldier. But he gave good vibes. And he was someone you could connect more to than the chief himself. Yeah.
Act Man here, and today we're going to use our imagination. Close your eyes for a moment. Now, picture a world where the Halo TV series wasn't written by crackheads, but instead competent screenwriters who appreciate and love the source
my God.
material of Halo. Open your eyes. This is the society we'd be living in.
It would
That's
be
right,
perfect.
folks. We're going to be rewriting the Halo TV series to make it not suck ass. Based on what we got, it shouldn't be too hard to improve upon Jimmy Rings and the clap of his ass cheeks.
Cortana, I'm trying to sneak into high charity, but I'm dummy thick and the crap of my cheeks here keeps alerting the flood.
I want this to be an exercise in creative writing for all of us, so please post your thoughts, opinions, and ideas in the comments below, and let's get a discussion going so we can escape reality, if but for a brief moment. I find it interesting to compare how The Last of Us was received versus the Halo show.
Yeah, it was pretty well done. Small mistakes here and there, but in total, Last of Us was a good watch. Not like this atrocity right here.
It's pretty night and day. I was even more
Yep.
shocked when my parents asked me if I had ever watched The Last of Us, because the last time my parents played a video game was on the NES in the late 80s. But this made it clear to me that a popular video game story could be adapted to television and appeal to a broader audience if done right. Halo did not do it right. So the first question, what can we salvage from the Halo show as it is? Nothing.
Absolutely fucking nothing.
We're completely scrapping this silver timeline crap.
Get the fuck
Silver
out of here!
timeline?
The only
What?
reason the silver timeline existed is because the showrunners wanted an excuse to deviate from the source material, and the silver timeline was their attempt at creating a shield that would deflect criticism. So my idea is for season 1, we focus on the story in Combat Evolved, while also integrating some side stories and expanded lore from the books. Combat Evolved has an
That's
incredible
right.
story, and given the
Perfect.
game's somewhat primitive methods of storytelling, there's endless potential in showing things we never got to see, like how Johnson escaped. We can have Foehammer actually appear on screen.
Yeah.
our motto, we deliver.
So I had this idea that Master Chief would take off his helmet at the end of the last episode of season 1, just like he did in the original, except unlike the original, we actually show his face.
Yep.
Here's the thing. My idea is that we keep the identity of the actor playing Chief a complete secret under NDA. This would spark a lot of discussion and intrigue amongst fans as they try to theorize and figure out who's playing Master Chief. That way you could even have Steve Downes voice him if you wanted. So for season 1 of the
Yeah.
Halo show, I envision 10 episodes that mimic the 10 levels of Combat Evolved. We keep the same names because the names are fucking awesome and they're intriguing. But first, I got a question for you. Are you tired of drinking boring old water? Looking for a way to spice it up? And you need...
No, I love water.
I know a lot of
Stay
people who
hydrated.
don't enjoy drinking regular water, so they go through most of life being totally dehydrated. If you're one of those people, then Arup is the perfect fix for you. Now, before I give you my special discount
That's
code,
good.
let me explain how the science works. With the special water bottle come these flavored pods
A friend
that you
got
can
it.
easily
It's
insert in the top
decent,
of the bottle.
yeah.
So the flavor of the pod is not actually in the water, but the scent...
Especially to stay fit and not to drink any soft drink. You can purely rely on water.
travels to your brain and you perceive it as flavor. And there's so many flavors to choose from, so you're bound to find something you like. This thing has replaced my regular water bottle and I take it everywhere I go because I like to stay healthy and stay hydrated. It works best with filtered
Good
water, but you
decision.
can also use it with regular tap.
Support him,
Along
Bob.
with the special water bottle,
He
you'll
definitely
get a
deserves it.
3-pack of flavored pods. You could choose different sizes of water bottles, colors,
Damn,
and
that
all
shit
sorts
costs
of
money.
flavors.
Yeah,
So
holy
what are you
shit.
waiting for? Order your special Arup water bottle today and use the code ACTMAN15 at checkout to get
But yeah.
15% off your entire order. Healthy hydration never tasted this good. And thank you Arup for sponsoring this video.
And now for something
Spot 'em.
completely different.
The show begins just like the end of Halo Reach. We have a
Oh.
dramatic shot of the Pillar of Autumn leaving the planet. On the ground, we see a lone Spartan. The audience sees destruction, debris, and countless
Reach
human
campaign.
bodies. Noble Six watches as the Pillar of Autumn makes a blind jump into slip space and prepares for his
Perfection.
last fight as Covenant cruisers glass the planet in the background. Title screen. I like the idea of the prologue beginning at the end of Halo Reach, as it shows the audience what the Covenant are capable of, what they
Yep.
just got done doing, and it sets up a potential prequel series should the show do well. So you'd have the same opening scene on the bridge. Keyes and Cortana find Installation 04. While I think a majority of the show should focus on the human side, I 100% want to add scenes from the Covenant perspective. Thelvadamy, aka
It was great, especially in Halo 2. When the decision to make the Covenant a playable race, like story-wise, was perfect.
Arbiter, would function as the spear and leader of the Covenant. The Prophet of Stewardship was a prophet in the lore who clumsily commanded the fleets and troops in the Battle of Installation 04. So basically, he made a bunch of fuck-ups, the ring gets destroyed, and Thelvadamy basically takes the blame for his mistakes,
Yep.
leading to his trial at the start of Halo 2. So we want to show that throughout each episode. I think it'd also be cool to have the Heretic leader and shipmaster aboard Thelvadamy's fleets in the Covenant ships, and they help out and do
Arthas
different...
Vadu, man. He gives he's like the Johnson just for the Alliance, I guess. But he gives off different vibes, I know, but kind of still feels the same. Yeah, he's like the opposing factor to Johnson, I guess. Yeah.
different things across the ring. After the bridge scene, we cut to the Covenant cruisers and the Prophet of Stewardship is overcome with emotions upon seeing the Halo ring, and he makes the irrational decision to command the fleet not to fire on the Pillar of Autumn for fear of damaging the sacred ring. Instead, they decide to send boarding parties, and we get shots of elites and grunts getting ready for combat, which directly contrasts the scenes of Marines preparing for combat. Now, in Combat Evolved, they had Marine characters, but you know, they basically die and reappear in later missions, so during gameplay, it always felt a little weird. We need characters
Yeah.
that can add personality and charm to the UNSC, and that can be killed off for emotional moments. Johnson, of course he's in. He would command the Marines, but
Must
have his
be.
own personal squad consisting of the troops that end up going to the weapons cache in the swamp. There's a character named Antonio Silva, who in the lore commanded the ODSTs on board the Pillar of Autumn. That's right, there were ODSTs on board. So
Damn.
fuck yeah, we get to put those into.
Never
Since
knew
Halo
that.
took a lot of inspiration from the movie Aliens, I think basing the vibe of the Marines and their chemistry on that film is a great idea. Now, to be fair, the only thing I would take from the Halo show is the level of gore and violence. I think showing the brutality of the Covenant and their weapons was a great move, and we'd want to do that for the entirety of this show as well. The crewmates in the cryo chamber are slaughtered. Chief sprints through the ship, encountering Chip's Dubbo, who throws him an assault rifle. I figure giving Chief a weapon as he fights his way to the bridge would be more exciting than him not having one at all. Now, when Chief puts the Cortana chip in his helmet, I think it'd be cool to get brief visions of Chief's past and have Cortana remark on these memories. Johnson and his squads would accompany Master Chief as he fights his way through the ship, trying to save as many people as possible and get them safely aboard the lifeboats. Now, a big question is how to write Chief. Remember, this needs to be written for an audience that is not playing a video game, and therefore Chief cannot serve his traditional role as a somewhat silent vessel for the player. He should still be reserved and deliver some badass lines, but I'm gonna throw a curveball your way and say this is where we're gonna take inspiration from Halo 4's Chief.
What you say is heresy.
Hey,
I'm not saying Chief should be as emotionally vulnerable as he is in 4. In that game, Chief is written
Not
to
to
be
that
more
extent,
involved
yeah.
in the plot and in dialogue. So ideally, throughout this series, he and Cortana would be the ones talking strategy and planning with Captain Keyes or whoever. Chief rescues the Marines, they board the life pod, and the Pillar of Autumn begins its descent. The Marines fear for their lives, but Chief reassures them that they'll be fine. Right before the life pod crashes onto the ring, it fades to white.
Halo.
Chief is momentarily shell-shocked. His helmet came off when the lifeboat crashed into the ring, and as he tries to find it, we get more flashbacks to his past. Eventually, he finds his helmet and puts it back on. But through clever lighting and camera work, Chief's face is completely obscured, or not shown on screen. It's important that we see John take damage throughout the series, because if he's portrayed as this invincible juggernaut from start to finish, it'll take most of the tension out of the action scenes. A major focus of the second episode would be to show off the beauty, architecture, mystery, intrigue, and wonder of the Halo ring. But it would also have a lot
We also need the good OSCs there.
of Chief and Cortana moments to establish how they work together. He arrives at a spire and encounters Johnson, fighting for his life alongside his squad. Johnson, Chief, Cortana, and Fohammer discuss plans to rescue the other survivors, but as they do, more dropships arrive. Some of the crewmates from the bridge are visibly shaken. They cower in the corner, but Johnson gives one of his world-famous pep talks to get them to pull their shit together.
You hit Marine?
No, sir.
Then listen up.
Afterwards, Fohammer drops off a Warthog, picks up the injured survivors, but Jenkins and Johnson
two
stay with
six
Chief
in
and
a
the
row.
Warthog, and they go to find the others. They try to contact Captain
Still
Keyes,
remember it.
and they hope he's all right. Another idea I have is that Fohammer and Johnson, they gotta be flirting, okay? They need a romantic thing going throughout the series. We don't need Master Cheeks laying pipe on a female arbiter, because Johnson knows what the ladies like. There's your sex appeal, showrunners. It's right fucking there, in that glorious mustache.
Hoorah!
We then cut to Captain Keyes and his crew, who escaped on a lifeboat. Most of them survive, but they're all pretty shaken by the impact. The reprieve is short-lived as Covenant drop pods land and surround them. Keyes and his men put up a valiant fight against the Covenant, but are eventually forced to surrender and are taken captive. A dropship arrives. Keyes looks up, and he sees the white armor of the shipmaster. I think this would be awesome because we never saw what happened to Keyes between the first and third missions. And I think seeing notable Covenant characters on the ring doing something, I think that would be cool. The rest of this episode plays out mostly the same. There's an intense sniper shootout atop the hill. Fohammer arrives just as their position is about to be overrun, and they all escape. In order to rescue Captain Keyes, Chief and the others devise a stealthy approach. They send some ODSTs with silenced SMGs, Johnson and his squad, as well as the Chief. As they fight on the cliffside, we cut to Captain Keyes being led through the purple hallways of the Truth and Reconciliation. He's tortured for information before being tossed in a cell. Now, there was always something a little bit off about Keyes learning what the Halo ring is. So to fix this, I think we show scenes of a couple of elites talking. Now, what we do is, when we
Yeah, because you overheard them.
see Covenant talking from a human point of view, they're speaking a foreign language. If it's just elites or members of the Covenant on screen, then it appears in English to us. But let's say that Keyes understands the Sangheili language, so as he's listening to them speak, we get subtitles. Meanwhile, Thel 'Vadamee is upset that he had to relinquish control of the mission to the Prophet of Stewardship, who has little to no military experience. The stage is set for a power struggle amongst the leaders of the Covenant. As the Marines clear the drop zone around the gravity lift, Johnson, Jenkins, and the others are fatigued, and that's when hunters show up for the first time. They kill several Marines and ODSTs. Johnson gets wounded in this fight by a stray fuel rod blast, so Fohammer picks up the injured Marines and ODSTs and drops off a batch of new ones. These Marines accompany Chief aboard the ship, and they all float up into the grav lift. The Marines are stunned by the interior of the Covenant ship, as none of them have ever been inside one, but even more surprised that Cortana can't seem to find any Covenant defenses.
What? There's no
Yep.
Covenant here. I think maybe nobody's home.
Somebody is home, and we get an awesome action sequence with the invisible sword elites. As they fight their way to the bridge, there's an intense showdown with the Gold Zealot and Chief. He defeats the Zealot and leaves the squad of Marines there to watch their retreat. It's time for a prison break.
Coming here was reckless. You two know better than this. Thanks.
We cut back to the Marines on the bridge just kind of dicking around, and then we watch in horror as they get massacred by more invisible sword elites. And the rest of the episode plays out the same, with Keyes piloting a Covenant dropship to fly them all out of there. Now, in Combat Evolved's campaign, we would often jump between missions without really seeing how our characters get from one place to the next. So one thing that could create buildup to each action scene is seeing how our characters plan their strategy, using maps and smart tactics. I, for one, would love to see where each of these missions actually takes place geographically on the ring. The opening of episode 4 would be a bombastic action-packed sequence across the beaches, but alongside the Pelicans, Captain Keyes would fly in with the commandeered Covenant dropship. Not much else to say about episode 4. I'd pretty much follow the plot of Silent Cartographer as it is. They discover the location of Halo's control room while Keyes, Johnson, and others get prepped to investigate a hidden weapons cache deep in the swamps. Foehammer arrives carrying Chief, and a lone grunt runs away frightened. Chief comes across another fire team in need of assistance that include a character named Melissa McKay, who, in the lore, is a first lieutenant and executive officer of the ODST battalion. She'll be important later on. Chief assists the battered squad and uses a nearby rocket launcher to destroy a wraith in the distance. As Foehammer arrives to pick them up, her Pelican is shot down, and I thought it'd be cool if she joined Chief and the others on foot to continue their assault on the control room. This would be the one and only time that Chief hops aboard the Scorpion, and we can have some fun with that. The Prophet of Stewardship asks Thel if the forces sent to the swamp have found the hidden weapons cache. Thel says they have, but they lose communication with these troops shortly after. This episode would be so fucking cool to see on the big screen. Chief is all alone, without Cortana. He arrives in the swamps and sees a downed Pelican with stockpiles of ammo and supplies. It would be the best episode. But no Marines. Because this is the best mission. Is heard, but much of it is distorted by static. Still, it confirms Chief's suspicions that this is where Captain Keyes was last seen. Chief sneaks his way through the jungle, noticing that the Covenant forces consisting of jackals and grunts are extremely disorganized. There are no elites anywhere to be seen. He attempts to reach out to any local Marines via radio, but suddenly notices his radar lights up. There are friendlies around. He looks around and sees the visage of someone or something running into the jungle. If they can hear him, why haven't they responded? Chief moves towards the weapons cache. Master Chief tells Foehammer he's descending into the temple, but loses contact with her. Now, Chief is truly alone. What follows is a slow unfolding of the horrors that occurred here. I mean, there's so much room for environmental, silent, horrific storytelling. Blood is everywhere. Corpses are stacked behind barricades. Any Covenant troops still left alive that the Chief encounters are huddled together in corners, nervously checking their surroundings, as if they expect an attack at any moment. Master Chief encounters a lone Marine. He rocks back and forth with pistol in hand. Chief takes the gun from him and tries to calm the man down, but he won't listen. "My pistol. I need my pistol," he says. Reluctantly, Chief hands the pistol back to the man. "Come on," he says. "We need to find the captain." Chief turns and sees the lifeless corpse of the Marine sprawled on the floor. Also, because Chief doesn't have a traditional face in this series, we need to show what he's feeling based on like his head movements. The flashback recording, the flood reveal, all of that I would handle pretty much the same. I think it'd also be cool if Chief saw signs that Marines, Jackals, and Grunts all fought together in like a last-ditch, desperate alliance to try and survive. Chief encounters a group of 3 Marines that are still alive in the facility somehow, but they too are cut down almost instantly as Chief is helpless to save them. But the first encounter with the Flood combat forms is one of the few, if not the only time, we see Chief genuinely terrified and rattled. He has no radio contact to the rest of the UNSC or Foehammer. He doesn't have Cortana to give him guidance or advice. And as far as he knows, all the other Marines are dead, turned into these things, which is why it makes so much sense for Chief to run into Johnson as they both try to escape the facility.
We could use your help, sir.
Upon seeing each other, they both almost shit their pants, and Johnson looks like hammered shit. His hands tremble as he can barely aim his assault rifle. And this time, it's the Chief who gives the pep talk to Johnson. The two would fight their way out together, encountering the other group of Marines at the top of the elevator. But in the jungle, Chief gets separated from Johnson and the others when Spark teleports him to the top of the facility and then to the library. Johnson's eyes dart around, his face filled with dread. He begins to sob as the man most capable to protect him, who was at his side just a moment ago, is nowhere to be seen. Sergeant Johnson falls to his knees. How to handle Combat Evolved's most notorious mission. Well, I think 343 Guilty Spark should mostly focus on Chief's perspective. This one would be half and half. Half Chief, half Covenant. I'd also write Guilty Spark to be more expository and give insight into the Flood, their history, and the history of the Forerunners. I'd also recreate some of the
more like an exposition episode
that detail Spark's loneliness and his duties on the ring, so we'd get to know him more. I think while Chief fights through the gauntlet in the library, we would see the power struggle between Thelvadamy and other members of the Covenant and the Prophet of Stewardship. As things are rapidly falling apart, they're unable to contact High Charity, and the elite who would become the heretic leader is ordered to take a contingent of Covenant forces to a nearby gas mine. The Prophet of Stewardship continues to mishandle the war effort, but Shipmaster stays by Arbiter's side, assuring him that they will not let the Flood escape this ring. Guilty Spark informs Chief that the Flood have started to repair the Pillar of Autumn, revealing their intentions to spread the infection beyond the ring. The Flood are now a threat to the entire galaxy. And throughout this episode, Spark is earning Chief's trust and manipulating him into doing what he thinks needs to be done. Eventually, John will retrieve the index, Guilty Spark takes it from him, and the two are teleported away.
Betrayals.
The episode begins much the same, with Chief and Spark arriving at Halo's control room. There's the big reveal.
The thing is, they're using the same map again. Like 2 Betrayals was like the same level but backwards. I don't know how they are gonna make that stuff like great again, because it already happened. Just the other way around, I guess.
The 2 Betrayals might be one of the harder missions to adapt, as in the game it doesn't contain all that much story. To fill this gap, I'd say we'd have extended flashback sequences whenever John touches the phase pulse generators, and we'd learn more about the Spartan program, Halsey, and how she shaped the Master Chief into who he is today. I think it'd also be cool if Jenkins reappears in this episode as he searches for someone to end his life and his torment. In the lore, he was infected, but the Flood form that infected him was really old, so it wasn't complete. So he still had some level of consciousness, and I feel like that story would be so cool to as like a B or a C plot. You know, maybe there are some last remnants of human resistance and they fight over a pelican and who should be able to escape on it. You know, a Titanic situation, if you will. It shows the desperation of the humans. There'd be a lot of fight scenes between the Covenant and Flood, and Master Chief would sometimes watch from afar or go in to clean them all up. I think it'd be awesome to get some POV shots of infected Marines attacking the Covenant and their former allies. We could also see the Flood piloting various human and Covenant vehicles, illustrating that their intelligence is rising and that they can adapt to any situation. Again, like every episode, the threat of the Flood is raised. At some point, we cut back to Thelvadamy and Shipmaster, who seek to overthrow the Prophet of Stewardship and take control of the war effort, but they learn he's gone to the Truth and Reconciliation. With the Prophet gone, Thel assumes direct and complete control of the Covenant war effort, and none of the other elites oppose him. He immediately orders a strike team to find the Prophet and prevent the Flood from repairing the Truth and Reconciliation. After setting off the 3rd phase pulse generator, Cortana tells Chief that she's located Captain Keyes on the Truth and Reconciliation. Before they head to the ship, they reach out to any remaining UNSC forces on the ring and manage to contact one of the few remaining groups. This group is led by Melissa McKay, who agrees with the plan to rescue the captain, and her and her squads board several Pelicans and get prepped. Having tapped into the ring's teleportation grid, Cortana transports Chief to the Truth and Reconciliation one last time.
Let's go. Keys.
Chief arrives aboard the ship, which has been heavily damaged. The skirmishes wage across the ship and its exterior as the Covenant strike team is overwhelmed by the Flood threat. Captain Keyes is here though, and somehow alive.
Chief, don't be a fool. Leave me.
This
Yep.
statement only makes Chief and Cortana more inspired to rescue Keyes. Now, when Chief and Cortana find Keyes as the proto-Gravemind, right before they punch into his face, it cuts to black. And then Captain Keyes opens his eyes, and it would play out like the terminal scene, where he monologues about his life, his daughter Miranda, how proud of her he is, and he desperately tries to keep the location of Earth a secret as his memories are tainted with the presence of the Flood. The Gravemind taunts him, manipulating his own memories against him.
You will not have me. We already do.
Just as Keyes was about to lose control and give up vital information to the Gravemind, Master Chief kills him and takes his neural interface. At this point, the Covenant BattleNet would be in complete disarray. Some troops would abandon the ring, others stay. It's complete chaos. As Master Chief sets out to escape, he runs into Melissa McKay and the remaining Marines and ODSTs. They're in bad shape, but doing a great job of clearing out the Flood. Melissa tells Chief they intend to use the ship to escape the ring, and John wishes them all the best. He sets off on his own towards the horse he rode in on. Melissa and her troops clear out most of the Flood on the ship and the remaining Covenant troops, but as they begin repairing the ship, she realizes something. If even one Flood spore, one infection form, were still alive somewhere hidden on the ship, and they managed to make it back to Earth, the entire planet would fall.
One single flood spore can destroy a species.
Melissa makes a difficult decision. She orders her men to halt all repairs, and instead they trigger the ship's self-destruct sequence, killing every UNSC personnel on board, and preventing the Flood from using the ship to escape the ring. However,
Huge
the Flood would be
sacrifices,
hard at
always
work,
good.
repairing the only other ship they could find. With almost all of the UNSC either dead or MIA, Chief and Cortana fly back to the Pillar of Autumn. On board, they see the dilapidated ruins of the ship, triggering flashbacks to happier times. Dinner and lunch in the cafeteria. There's a showdown on the bridge as Spark and his sentinels attack Chief. Guilty Spark uses his Spartan laser face melter thing and singes a part of Chief's armor. Spark's laser does serious damage to Chief's suit. He's at his weakest point, been through hell and back, and his Mjolnir armor is on the brink of giving up. This would also serve as one of the main reasons why his armor gets replaced and upgraded at the start of Halo 2, or Season 2. Spark then moves into the interior of the ship to gather all information he can about humanity.
If Halo 2 would be Season 2, it would be perfection, like. I don't know if I would mess that shit up.
He learns everything about the Spartan program and uses
We just need enough budget, I guess.
this knowledge to
Enough
taunt
budget
Chief.
to do
Cortana
it.
and Chief fight their way through the ship, encountering fierce resistance as Sentinels, Covenant, and Flood all fight each other. But he uses these battles as a distraction to arm himself with a rocket launcher and sets about destroying the ship's fusion reactors. It'd also be cool to have a scene of him fighting Invisible Flood. Just saying. Throughout the time on the
Just saying.
Pillar of Autumn, Cortana has desperately tried to contact any survivors and manages to contact Foehammer. As Chief destroys the last fusion reactor, he and Cortana head to the rendezvous point to evacuate. Meanwhile, Johnson and a few others find a downed Pelican and begin making repairs to it as they fight off waves of the Flood. Now, when Master Chief arrives at the rendezvous point, of course, Foehammer is being attacked by Banshees and their fuel rod cannons. He jumps on the back of the turret and starts blasting, destroying both Banshees. But it's too late. Chief watches as the flames engulf Echo 419's Pelican. He peers over the edge as the ship plummets to the ground. She's gone. Master Chief, believing that his only way off the ring is gone, loses control of his emotions. He's angry that he failed his mission to protect Cortana. He's angry that he failed Captain Keyes. Then Cortana says,
Ship's inventory shows one longsword fighter is still docked in Launch Bay 7. If we move now, we can
Let's
make
go.
Chief instantly regains his composure and without hesitation jumps into the Warthog and fucking floors it. Cut back to Johnson and the Pelican is repaired, but several Marines die trying to get on board. They will escape mere minutes before Chief. As the clock ticks down to less than a minute, Chief ditches the Warthog. He jumps into the longsword, closes the door, and speeds off right before the Pillar of Autumn explodes. Cut back to Thelvadamy aboard his fleet. As the last remnants of the Covenant have retreated, he watches in horror. Knowing the Prophet of Stewardship is dead, it's he who will take the blame for this colossal failure. Chief and Cortana reflect on the horrors and trauma they just endured. the lives of the good men and women they lost. The reason Fohammer and Johnson should have a romantic thing going on is because Johnson manages to survive the ring. Now, if he and Fohammer had a good enough romantic subplot, then a scene where Chief delivers the news to Johnson would be incredibly emotional. Wouldn't that just be awesome? We never see the sergeant emotionally vulnerable.
Halo.
Damn.
It's finished.
No, I think we're just getting started.
As Chief says his last line in the first season,
I
takes
could
off
rewatch
his
all the
helmet,
cutscenes again,
and we
but-
finally see his face. Now that is how you do a fucking face reveal and earn it and stay true to the source material. In a post-credits scene, you see 343 Guilty Spark flying away from the wreckage. It holds on that shot for a few moments, and then, boom, High Charity appears in the background. So that's essentially how I would have rewritten the Halo TV series. You know, I didn't want to make this video like 2 hours and go into every detail, every nook and cranny of what I would do to adapt the main story into a television format, but I think you get the gist of it. I think exploring the Covenant side of the story and Arbiter's role in the events of CE is something we never really got to see. We got to read about it, but we never got to see it. At the end of the day, though, this is the end of our fever dream. I could barely manage to watch 3 episodes of the Halo TV series, but it was that uninteresting and painful. At this point, I think the showrunners have no choice but to continue the story they created. It'll take a massive course correction in order to make me interested in it again.
Oh, a man can dream, though. A man can dream.
You can dream.
Don't forget to post your ideas in the comments below. Thank you all for
Go support the Eggman. Go support me as well if you want to watch more of these reactions. Like, I would really appreciate it. Go like him. Go like his video and like him as well, yeah. But yeah, he did the content, I just reacted to it, and I guess that's it. I guess see you next time. Wafer out.